Hey you, before the noise takes over again, let's just stop right here, right now. Put your phone aside, take a breath, and let yourself be truly, fully present, because what I'm about to share is more than a story. It's my becoming a journey through love that looked like truth, but might have been a beautifully worn lie. A story shaped by my own scars and by the deeply mystical insights of Carl Jung. If you stay with me, you might not just hear my story, you might begin to remember yours. Thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable, and I promise what you'll receive in return will be more than worth it. Before we get started, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And tell me, in the comments, are you truly happy in your current relationship? Not out of curiosity, but because sometimes saying it out loud helps your soul breathe a little easier. Now, maybe turn on some soft music background noise. Put your phone away, pour a warm cup of tea, and in this quiet moment, join me on a journey within. There's something about the way he looked at me that night. We weren't saying anything, just breathing. And I remember thinking, this isn't about sex. This was something ancient, something quiet, something that stared back into me like it already knew my name before I even said it. That's the moment I understood what Jung meant when he called the eyes the windows to the soul. Because when a man is truly in love with you, it's not what he says that gives him away. It's how he looks at you when he thinks you aren't paying attention, or when all the pretending drops away and only breath and skin remain. I've seen two kinds of gazes, one that takes and one that gives. And when he looked at me that night, he gave not with his hands, not with his mouth, with his gaze. He wasn't just seeing me, he was letting me see him. Not the mask, not the performance, but the shy, quiet boy behind his armor. Jung would call this the emergence of the anima, the inner feminine self, the soft, vulnerable side that rarely makes it past a man's carefully constructed fortress. When that anima stirs, something rare happens. His gaze lingers longer than logic says it should. And in that gaze is a confession. I'm not just with you. I'm inside this moment with you, and you are inside me. It's no accident that eye contact is so intense. It's used in meditation, interrogation, and therapy. That's because the eyes bypass conscious defenses. They can't lie like words can. Try lying to someone while staring directly into their pupils. It's a neurological nightmare. And try holding that stare during intimacy. For most people, that's harder than public speaking. Naked on stage while your ex is in the front row. True story. That's literally one of the top 10 recurring dreams in modern dream research. You can look that up. But when a man can hold your gaze during those moments when he's most physically exposed, it's more than attraction, it's integration. His ego is melting. His shadow is loosening its grip. His unconscious is finally stepping into the light, blinking slowly, unsure, but brave. I'll never forget, this one night, we were just lying there, and I caught him watching me, not in lust, not in hunger, just awe, as if I was some ancient manuscript, and he didn't want to miss a single word. He didn't flinch when I noticed. He just smiled, softly. That smile that says, I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. Conversely, avoidance of eye contact during these moments can speak just as loudly. It's not necessarily a red flag, but it is a shadow, one he might not be ready to face. Jung said the unconscious will protect us from truths we aren't prepared to digest. So if he closes his eyes too fast, if his gaze flickers away the moment yours settles in, it might be because the mirror you offer reflects too much of what he's still hiding from himself. But when he doesn't turn away, when he holds the stare like a whispered promise, it's because he trusts you, not just with his body, but with the battered manuscript of his psyche. The ancient Greeks believed that to love someone is to look at them and see the face they wore before they were born. And maybe that's what eye contact during intimacy really is. A glimpse of who we were, before fear, before ego, before the masks. You might not believe me, and that's okay. But don't stop here. Keep watching, because maybe, just maybe, what you've been searching for is still to come. He didn't rush. That's what struck me. He moved with the kind of slowness that feels sacred, not lazy, not hesitant, just present. As if he was listening, not with his ears, but with his fingertips, as if my sighs were prayer, and he had memorized the rhythm of each one. That's when I knew this wasn't just desire. This was devotion. When a man loves you deeply, truly, he does something you can't fake. He prioritizes your pleasure, like it's a personal mission, not in a flashy, look how good I am in bed kind of way, but in that quiet, reverent way that says, your joy is my joy, your ease is my peace, and your release is mine too. Jung said that true intimacy is the merging of opposites, the integration of two distinct selves into something bigger than both. In those moments of surrender, when love rises above lust, you start to see the alchemy unfold. Here's something weird. I read once, octopuses have 3 hearts, and when they mate, one of them stops beating. They literally offer part of their life force in the process. Now, I'm not saying your guy needs to go full sea creature mode, but when a man is emotionally bonded to you, it kind of feels like that, like something inside him pauses, makes space for you. Lust is a fire that burns for itself. Love is a flame that leans toward the other. And when he puts your pleasure first, it's not because he's being polite, it's because, unconsciously, he can't help himself. Jung believed the shadow contains our baser impulses, the selfishness, the hunger, the need to dominate. But when a man is in love, something inside him begins to override that primitive coding. The ego steps aside, the shadow becomes softer, and what emerges is the self, the integrated, whole version of him that isn't performing anymore. Have you ever had someone remember exactly what made your toes curl 2 weeks ago? Not because you reminded them, but because they were paying attention. That's it. That's the thing. You didn't need to write a manual. His body just knew, and not because he studied you like a textbook, but because he felt you like music. Even the way he asks, "Was that good for you?" feels different when it comes from love. It's not fishing for praise. It's not fragile ego. It's genuine curiosity. It's emotional intelligence in action. Quick academic sidebar. There's actually a term called interoceptive accuracy. It's the ability to sense what's going on in your body and in someone else's, especially during close contact. People who are in love, their interoceptive systems sync, like literally sync. It's like jazz. He knows when to hold back, when to crescendo, and when silence says more than noise ever could. You'll feel it in the way he lingers afterward, the way he keeps his hand resting gently on your stomach, like he's still listening, or how he kisses your shoulder even when he's already gotten his, because it's not just about the climax, it's about the connection. And here's the plot twist. The men who love like this, they've usually faced their own demons. They've stared down their shame. They've lost battles to control and won wars through surrender. Because the truth is, you can't give this kind of love unless you've done some healing. A man who's still battling his shadow will take. A man who's befriended it, he'll give, because he's not afraid to lose something in the process. He knows that when he prioritizes your pleasure, he's not giving up power. He's gaining intimacy. And that kind of intimacy, well, that's the kind that doesn't leave, that doesn't flinch, that doesn't forget. It stays, it grows, and it speaks not in declarations, but in acts. And let me tell you something. When a man makes love to your soul through your body, you'll never confuse it with lust again. There's this moment right after it all when the silence stretches long and warm, and everything's a little slower, softer. It's that tender twilight between sensation and sleep. And what happens there says more than all the I love yous in the world ever could. You know what I'm talking about. Right, that post-intimacy pause. Not the part with the tangle of limbs and tangled sheets. The part after, when the performance is over. The lights are low, and no one's trying anymore. That's when the truth walks in. And most men, that's when they vanish, not physically. I mean, emotionally. They roll away, check their phone, crack a joke, put on pants like they're escaping something. And honestly, maybe they are. Carl Jung once said that what we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. That includes the way we shut down after closeness, because the truth is, it's easy to undress the body, but to remain naked in your soul after the climax, that's the real test. When a man stays emotionally open after sex, when he wraps you in his arms, like it's instinct, not obligation that is love talking. I remember one night, we just, and instead of turning over or muttering something half asleep, he reached for me, not in lust. In longing, he pulled me into him, forehead to forehead, and whispered, I don't ever want to go back to the version of me before you. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need poetic declarations every time. Sometimes it's just the way he tucks the blanket around you, or the way he stays quiet, present, still. Like your presence alone is enough. And it's in these moments that the shadow peeks through, ironically, in the best way. Jung believed our shadow holds the parts of ourselves we hide, repress, or deny. For many men, that includes their capacity for tenderness. Society doesn't exactly hand them blueprints for emotional safety. They're taught to conquer, not connect, to impress, not express. And so, after intimacy, when the ego's usual guards are down, that's when the unconscious steps out for air. He might start talking about his childhood, or tell you something he hasn't said out loud in years, or just lie there, tracing shapes on your skin, saying nothing at all, but saying everything. There was this one time, I swear, no joke, he started crying, not sobbing, just tears, quiet, out of nowhere, no apology, no explanation, just release. And in that moment, I didn't comfort him, I just held him, because I realized he wasn't crying for me. He was crying with me, as if his body finally got permission to feel what his brain was always too scared to admit. This, right here, is what Jung called integration. When the walls between conscious and unconscious dissolve, when the ego steps back and says, okay, I trust this. When he shows you not just the man he wants to be, but the boy he still carries inside. Contrast that with those who disconnect after the act. Their affection ends with the orgasm. Their presence evaporates the second the fire goes out. It's not always malicious. It's just incomplete. They've touched you, but they haven't joined you. True love lingers. It breathes in the pauses. It curls into your silence. It doesn't need a performance to feel real. Jung would say that when a man opens up to you in these raw moments, it's because you've become a mirror for his wholeness. He isn't just sharing pleasure, he's sharing grief, softness, memory, hope. That's not just afterglow. That's after truth. There's this thing that happens when you're lying next to someone who loves you, not just wants you, but truly knows you. The air gets heavy in a comforting way. Your breathing slows and his matches. You shift slightly and somehow he shifts with you. No words, no quiz, just this quiet choreography of connection. At first, it feels like coincidence, but then you notice it's not. It's rhythm, it's resonance. It's him meeting you where you are without even trying. Carl Jung described this as participation mystique, a mysterious state where two psyches seem to dissolve into each other, merging into a shared emotional and energetic field. You've probably felt this before, finishing each other's sentences, moving at the same pace, even dreaming the same dreams. Science has a word for it now: limbic synchrony. It's the reason babies and mothers sync heartbeats. The reason longtime couples mirror each other's posture without realizing. And when love is real, when it has depth and safety, that synchrony becomes almost divine. I remember this night, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of what didn't happen. We were just lying there, still. No music, no fan noise, just breathing. And then I noticed he was matching me. Inhale, exhale, head tilt, shoulder relax. His body wasn't copying mine. It was echoing it. Like we dropped out of our separate identities and were now moving as one fluid thing. It was eerie in the most beautiful way. Not spooky eerie. More like standing in front of the ocean and realizing, oh, I'm a part of this, not apart from this. And the thing is, he wasn't even aware of it. That's what made it sacred. These unconscious mirrorings are the purest signals of emotional safety. You can't fake them. You can't force them. They only emerge when the nervous system says, you're safe here. Jung would say, this is the archetype of the divine couple, the symbolic union of masculine and feminine energies, dancing in harmony without control. In mythologies across the world, there's always this idea of two lovers whose very presence together restores balance to the universe. Isn't that what we're all really craving? Not just a hot night, but a homecoming. Even when we moved like magnets. His hand would find the small of my back just as I leaned forward. My head would rest against his chest like it had always belonged there. There was no fumbling, no awkwardness, just alignment. I once read that synchronized dancers, after hours of practice, actually start to synchronize their heart rates, not on purpose, not consciously. Their bodies just decide to move together. Love does that, too. It trains the soul like muscle memory, so that when it finds its match, it doesn't hesitate. It remembers. By contrast, when it's just physical, just transactional, you can feel the distance. He moves too fast or too slow. His hand feels like a stranger's. Your breath doesn't sync, it collides. That kind of intimacy leaves you feeling more alone than when you started, because it reminds you this isn't union, it's performance. But when love is present, your bodies talk in ancient language. They sway, mirror, rest, and rise together. Even the quietest moments feel loud with meaning. Jung believed that opposites, when integrated properly, don't cancel each other, they create wholeness. He called this enantiodromia, the tendency of one extreme to transform into its opposite. And that's what synchronized movement is. The transformation of separateness into oneness. You're not just touching bodies, you're touching timelines, memories, echoes. You're dancing with the oldest part of each other, the part that never needed words. So next time you're lying there in stillness, listen, not with your ears, with your skin, with your breath, because the body doesn't just speak the truth, it sings it. You ever watch someone fall in love in slow motion and not even know it's happening? That's how it was with him. It didn't start with a grand gesture or a thunderclap of realization. It started with his shoulders softening when I walked in the room, with the way he started finishing his sentences less and asking more, and especially with the way his hands trembled, just a little when they touched me, as if his body was betraying something his mouth couldn't quite say yet. Carl Jung believed that every man carries within him an inner feminine archetype, the anima, not just a romantic fantasy, but a deeply symbolic force that shapes his unconscious relationship to love, emotion, and connection. And here's the wild part: when a man truly falls for a woman, it's not just her he's loving. It's the recognition of something ancient and familiar inside himself. She reflects his soul back to him, not the version he shows the world, but the hidden self, the secret longing, the missing piece. I remember one night, he looked at me, really looked at me and said, "You don't feel new. You feel like something I forgot I needed." That's the anima speaking, that quiet whisper from the unconscious. This is her, not because she completes you, but because she mirrors you. Jung wrote that the anima isn't about finding the one. It's about facing what you've avoided inside yourself. And when a man is in love, he unconsciously projects this anima onto the woman he's bonded with. That's why it feels like fate. That's why it's terrifying. Because love, real love, forces him to lower every mask. The "I've got it all together" mask. The "I'm not afraid to be alone" mask. Even the "I don't need anyone" mask. Suddenly, in her presence, he's not playing roles anymore. He's just him, unfiltered. A little messy, but present. You'll see it in the way he starts to act differently, without even knowing why. He might open doors without thinking, not from chivalry, but from instinct. He might start remembering your favorite comfort foods, or bringing you them without being asked. He might laugh with his whole face instead of just his mouth. These aren't rehearsed behaviors. They're unconscious offerings, little love letters written by the psyche and delivered through the body. And in the bedroom, that's where the unconscious has no filter. He might breathe in sync with you, not as a move, but because his nervous system feels safe enough to match yours. He might pause at the most unexpected times, not out of hesitation, but out of reverence. He might hold you afterward like he's protecting something sacred, because, in his eyes, you can't teach this. You can't fake this. And you sure as hell can't force it. This is the psyche doing what it does best, telling the truth in symbols, instincts, and impulse. Jung believed that the unconscious communicates in archetypes, not words. That's why dreams are never straightforward. And love, well, love is the most vivid dream of all. It's why your body might relax next to someone who hasn't even said, "I love you" yet, because the body knows before the mind catches up. It's always been wiser. So if you've ever wondered whether he really loves you, don't just look for grand speeches. Watch the symbols. Notice the shifts. See how his unconscious betrays him in the most beautiful ways. Like the way his breath catches when he sees you cry, or the way he turns toward you in sleep, or how his face changes when he looks at you, like you're not just someone, but the one he's been becoming for. Because in Jungian terms, that's what love really is. Not just attraction, but transformation, the base metal of ordinary longing, turned into the gold of soul union. And when a man is truly in love, his ego can't help but loosen its grip. His shadows start stepping into the light, and his anima, the part of him that remembers how to feel, leads the way, not with words, but with silence, stillness, instinct, and truth. So here we are on the other side of this quiet, winding path into the unconscious. Maybe you didn't expect love to look like this. Maybe you thought it would be louder, clearer, full of certainty and declarations. But in Jung's world, in the inner world, it rarely is. Love, the real kind, doesn't announce itself in fireworks. It seeps in through eye contact you weren't ready for, through small moments of selflessness that leave you stunned, through the silence after touch when he doesn't run, but rests, through the way your bodies begin to move like they remember each other from somewhere else, through symbols, synchronicities, the echoes of something bigger than both of you. You see, Jung didn't teach us to chase fantasy. He taught us to integrate, to become whole. And when a man is in love, not just emotionally, but psychologically, his unconscious joins the dance. That's why the way he behaves in bed, when no one's watching, when he's not trying, is often the clearest mirror of what he feels in his soul. So, the next time you wonder what's real, don't just ask him. Watch him, feel him, and listen not to his words, but to what's said in breath, in gaze, in presence. Because in the end, it's not what a man says that reveals his love. It's what he surrenders. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope today you find a quiet corner to continue that silent conversation with yourself. And don't forget to subscribe. There are many more videos to come about dreams, the shadow, and the hidden corners of the soul waiting for you ahead.